Hey guys, it's Grace Harmon here with HuskerOnline's Robin Washut, and we just got done with Tuesday basketball practice where we had a chance to talk to Hanif Cheatham and Coach Fred Hoiberg. They talked a little bit about the Cayman Island Classic and what's coming up. Robin, so they went 2-1 over this past week at the Cayman Islands, and now they have a pretty daunting stretch coming up. What did you see from them, and what do you expect to see?
Well, with the Cayman Islands deal, I mean, that was a unique experience because you're playing 3 games in 3 days, including 2 of which where you have less than 24 hours to prepare. So it's kind of just full-on scramble mode. And so you got a little bit of everything. That first game, they came out and played extremely well against Washington State, the first high major victory. And so that was, a good start to the week. But then, like I said, less than a day later, they come out to George Mason, and it was ugly. I mean, they looked completely discombobulated, guys, looked totally out of sync, and it was a rough all-around effort, and the final outcome showed it. And then what was the most impressive part about it, though, was the way that they responded after that George Mason game and that consolation game against South Florida, where, things were tough, and they had a players-only meeting, where the guys really just kind of called each other out. And what Fred Hoiberg said was the best part about it was guys didn't take it personally. They took the criticism, they took the, just basically being called out in stride, and they came out and played one of their better games of the season against South Florida, who's a good team. So that, I thought, was a really shining start to their first kind of real test away from home. So getting 2-1 out of that tournament, I thought was a really productive trip. And like you said, now it's going to get a little hairy. You're starting with Georgia Tech on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and so Georgia Tech will be the team's first true road game. What is this team going to have to do to win in an opposing team's gym?
That's the new test for this team. They've been away from home. They went to Italy and played 4 games. They played this neutral site thing in the Cayman Islands. They've obviously played a bunch of home games, but what they haven't done is gone into somebody's backyard and try to win a game in a true road environment. And doing so against the Georgia Tech, which obviously isn't the most high-profile team on the schedule, but you're traveling halfway across the country in a primetime game on ESPNU in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, and this is going to be a unique experience for these guys. And this whole season is just about learning and growth, and this is that next step. Can this team come together the way they did in that 3rd game in the Cayman Islands and find a way to win in some hostile adversity? So it's going to be difficult. Georgia Tech, they're a slower team. They don't shoot the 3 particularly well. They like to operate in the half court and score at the rim. And they have a center by the name of James Banks, who Nebraska recruited, by the way, out of high school, who leads the nation in blocks at just over 5 per game. So scoring at the rim is going to be difficult. So Nebraska's shooting about 47% over the last 3 games from 3-point range. That has to continue. You have to be able to hit from the free throw line if you're able to go on the road and win a game like this.
Yeah, and somebody asked Coach Hoiberg about expectations this far into the season, and he mentioned growth. He really just wants to see improvement from his team. How do you think he will and has seen improvement, especially at rebounding, which has been a problem area?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the bugaboo for him all year, and there's only so much you can do. A lot of it you can fix just by effort, and I think that's gotten kind of better. It's still an issue, and it will be all year, just with the makeup of this team, the style of play that they have, and just, not having much post depth, especially when you start getting some of these high major teams, and especially into Big Ten play, rebounding will always be a disadvantage, and it's just a matter of how much can you alleviate that disadvantage, at least make it not so overwhelming to where it's completely losing you the game. And so they've done kind of better at that at times, but also there's been games like George Mason where they're completely dominated on the boards, especially on the offensive end. So if they rebound marginally well, they're going to have a chance more often than not. But as we've seen, when they completely get dominated on the glass, that's when they're basically playing with one hand behind their back. So that's going to be an issue all year, but as long as you can keep that substantially, or at least somewhat, a little more even, then I think they're going to have a chance. But like I said, it's going to be a problem all year, and I don't see it getting fixed anytime soon.
And the Huskers now go on the road at Georgia Tech and then have pretty quick turnarounds at Creighton and Indiana before coming home, playing another quick turnaround game against Purdue. What is the quick 4 games going to show about this team?
And this is going to get real here. 3 straight true road games. 1, like I was talking about with Georgia Tech and all the things that come with that. And then you come back home a few days later and you're going to Creighton for Fred Hoiberg and basically everybody but Thor Bjarnarsson's first taste of the Creighton-Nebraska rivalry. So there's a whole other bag of stuff you got to deal with there. And then, by the way, you got Indiana coming up a few days later, maybe about a week later. And then, to cap it off, you got Purdue coming home for your second Big Ten game in early December. So This is going to be a 4-game stretch that I think is going to tell us more about this team than anything we've seen so far through the first 7. Just the fact that they're going on the road, they're playing rivalry games, they're playing conference games. This is where this team is going to learn a lot about itself, and we're going to learn a lot about it. So, if they can make it up with their head above water in some capacity, I think that's going to be a victory, because this is going to be as difficult of a first 2 weeks of December as we've seen in a long time.
And there you have it. Well, we'll see how Nebraska fares against Georgia Tech tomorrow night at 6:15 Central Time. For Robin Washut, I am Grace Harmon reporting for Husker Online.